Hare Krishna. Welcome back to 50 Years in ISKCON. We're coming along. We're going to reach the end point pretty soon. I think this is part 29, maybe just 3 or 4 more to bring us up to nowadays. So this talk will be I'm going to be talking between 2010 and 2015. And let me just first offer my respects to all of you. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhuvevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudapane Vacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavale Bhaskachati Siddhavane Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, throughout the next few years, 2010 to 2015, I continue to go to Vrindavan twice a year to make the Didi outfits. I've mentioned it many times because this is something that's been going on for me, my service, since the late 70s. So, over 30 years. But as the time has passed by, I understand more and more what a blessing this service has been in my life. Apart from having the wonderful opportunity to go to Sri Vrindavan Dham regularly, it is equally glorious to have the opportunity to make the Lord's clothes, because it is such a natural and effortless way of becoming absorbed in thought of Krishna. It's so personal. And, you're just thinking every day, well, what kind of veil would look nice on Radharani? What kind of chadar should Krishna have? What color should the backdrop be to emphasize the beauty of their lordships? It's such a simple meditation, and yet it is incredibly profound. It's such an easy way to just be absorbed in thinking of these personalities that you're trying to dress. Because this is what goes on in the spiritual realm. The devotees are dressing Radha and Krishna, they're feeding Radha and Krishna, and this is the highest intimacy that is just unknown to most everybody. And so it is impossible to comprehend how Srila Prabhupada opened this door for us, very fallen people, unqualified souls, to engage in this topmost divine seva, the highest and the deepest meditation. It is very amazing that basically we are doing what is done in the spiritual world, or at least we're practicing to be immersed in that way. And Srila Prabhupada said, I saw a quote a couple of days ago that he said, I have it here, yes, it is very nice. You decorate Krishna very nicely, then you will forget the business of decorating your person. That is the effect. Because people are busy how to decorate himself. And they are spending so much money. But if you decorate Krishna nicely, you'll forget this propensity. This is the process. And so true, so true. And I see that how Prabhupada was such a genius. He engaged in the early days. So many of the head pujaris were women. That this is such a natural proclivity dressing beautifully, dealing with beautiful cloths, beautiful things. It's a very natural propensity. But I have to say that I always have felt frustrated because the gross material elements that we have to use here in the Lord's service they just seem so incredibly inadequate. They're just not good enough. I mean, these plastic pearls and these fake stones, but the Lord is so kind to accept these silly little things that we're able to give, like when a small child gives, a leaf that they pick up from the ground or something to the parent, like a gift, insignificant thing. But the parent feels really happy to receive that gift, So that is really the beauty and the science of bhakti, that whatever we have access to in this realm, if we employ it in the Lord's service, we, and even the items we use, become in some way spiritualized. And it is so simple, yet such a profound science. It's far beyond what the realm of the mystic yogis can attain, and it's beyond what the greatest scholars and jnanis have access to, and it is beyond the impersonal liberation. And Srila Prabhupada is giving us access to the highest realm of existence. And these activities put us in personal touch with the Lord and help us to reignite our natural attachment for Him. It is a very amazing thing. And I think I'm just bringing this up. Of course, we all know this philosophy, but, over years of service, doing this specific service, it's just grown on me how extraordinary this is. It may look like ordinary activities, but the experience and the result are totally different. Of course, it can be like that, but if we're not careful, it can also become mechanical and shallow, as any of our devotional activities can become, especially after many years doing the same thing. So, we do have to keep alive and conscious in our service. It's just not an automatic thing at all. And I've seen how, little, it grows over the years, more of a depth of understanding of what we are doing. So anyway, this service, it requires that I go almost daily when I'm in Vrindavan to our workshop and to work out details of outfits. But I have to say that now, after so many years, it's becoming more and more difficult with age, and also with what's happening in Vrindavan. It's becoming so busy that, just going downtown can take half of the day. The roads are gotten so bad and the traffic is crazy. And, for me, with increasing arthritic pain, rickshaw rides are really becoming hellish. It is starting to wear me down. And also this year, I think 2010, this year, something terrible and shocking happened in Vrindavan. Something that I just could never imagine happening. That the Parikrama Marg has been paved over and made into an ordinary road. And even in order to pave the road, In many places, they had to bring, they brought in these bulldozers, and they just plowed down anything in the way. Sometimes half of a person's home was just like, you know, the whole front would be gone and you could just see the insides of their house. I mean, you know, boundary walls, shops, just bulldoze them down. I mean, probably they were illegal, but it was horrible. And those bulldozers, to me, they look like modern day demons come to destroy Krishna's abode. And it was just very sad to see that, you know, the beautiful, sandy, sacred pathway just gone. I mean, they did it very fast. And, you know, that path that millions of sadhus have walked on for hundreds of years, so sacred, just gone. And, you know, I don't know, to me it was absolutely heartbreaking. And, yeah, I can't really tell you how much that seemed to change Vrindavan and really break the hearts of a lot of devotees. To see now cars speeding down that road, and it's just becoming increasingly a place of traffic jams and horn honking and you know, doing parikrama, you know, it's become dangerous. You have to watch for the cars, and you have to tolerate the hot asphalt on your feet. And imagine how dangerous if you're doing Dandavat parikrama. You know, I mean, Vrindavan has become a very popular place, and certainly that is a wonderful thing. Yet at the same time, you know, a lot of good things are being lost. People coming in big cars from Delhi, now that there's a good highway, and you know, there's coming oftentimes a bit of a spirit of enjoyment, and we've got more fancy hotels and restaurants and luxury high-rise buildings. I remember being just utterly shocked one day. I saw an advertisement, a big, you know, board on the side of the road advertising a golf course at Govardhan Hill. I mean, not on Govardhan Hill, but at Govardhan Town somewhere. I don't know if it ever happened. Yikes! How is it possible? You know, so all this changing, the mood, the ambience, and environmental destruction, you know, it is just happening at a rapid pace. And so now it is a real mix. I mean, surely it is wonderful that many people now know about Vrindavan. It's amazing. And they want to come to visit the temples and offer worship. It's actually astonishing, really, how Srila Prabhupada opened Vrindavan to the whole world. It was quite unknown previously. But, you know, also so many unfavorable developments are happening as a result of it, you know. And of course, we know Vrindavan is always Vrindavan. Pure devotees will always see that. They will always feel that, no matter what it looks like. And yet for us neophyte devotees, it is easier at least to appreciate Vrindavan when the appearance of the Boma Vrindavan, or the earthly Vrindavan, reflects, at least to some degree, Goloka Vrindavan, you know, with the peacocks trumpeting and the parrots chirping and soft bells ringing and sandy pathways. You know, I very much miss the sandy paths, but At the same time, I see that many, newer devotees that come, somehow they do get a taste of Vrindavan despite the changes and the chaos. So surely Krishna is always present and inspiring the devotees according to their heart's desires. But still it makes me sad. And I feel really grateful to have been there when it was, pretty much a quiet little town. And, well, just as a kind of side note, I would recommend that when you have the chance to visit Vrindavan, that you make a plan how to take advantage of your time there. Because nowadays there's just so much going on. There's so much diversity, so many people, so much talking and socializing, and it is so easy to get caught up in all of it and just waste precious time in the Dham. So it is good to have a focus, go there with a focus, know what you want to do when you get there. Fortunately, now there are many inspiring programs going on. They have beautiful Govardhan retreats. There's daily parikramas with Dina Bandhu. There's a Brajamandal parikrama. The VIHE has always got courses going, and the temple programs, classes, and seva. So there are many opportunities, but many opportunities to just really be immersed and to taste Vrindavan and ways to avoid offenses. But it's good to have a plan because it can all get a little bewildering. So for myself, I continue to go on Andradumna Swami's parikrama every year during the month of Kartik. I go, my daughter also goes, and I've chosen to go with them because I love the way they are organized, because they make sure that we often go to places that are off the beaten path, places where it's fairly quiet and where we can just sit down, focus on kirtan and katha for a good part of the day. And it's just so nourishing for, this tiny little bhakti creeper to get this kind of water poured on it. It's, it's a tiny thing that really needs nourishment, at least me. So I'm very grateful to Andradumna Maharaj and all those devotees who are really dedicated and work very hard to make this possible. It's not easy to arrange, every day going out for the whole month. It's a lot of organization and a lot of money, and all these. There's a team of devotees. They're just so dedicated, and they donate abundantly to make it possible, so that all devotees, even if they can't afford or whatever, that everyone can attend. And it's very beautiful if you ever get a chance. Just as a side note, during these parikramas, Andradumna Maharaj has been, repeatedly telling me that I should print the book that I wrote long ago about Narottam Das Thakur, and others like Chadaratma Prabhu, and there's quite a few Narottam Das Thakur bhaktas out there, and they're like, why don't you print that book, which I've just been ignoring, and then it finally just dawned on me that, we're just supposed to serve the Vaishnavas, and if Vaishnavas are requesting this, then, I'm their servant. I should do that. So this is something that I will revisit now. I'll start, I think, sometime, I don't know when it was, sometime in these 5 years. I bring this, revisit this project and start to look at, what, after so many years, what needs to be changed or added or whatever in order for it to come out as a book, so that's something I started working on somewhere in these years. And as I mentioned once before, Indradyumna Maharaj has also kindly included me as a regular speaker on his Kartik Parikramas. And not just to speak about Narottam Das Thakur, but my talks have broadened out into talking about all of our acharyas. Mostly that's my topic. And that's what I feel comfortable with, what I can really relish. And it has been very, very good for me. As it forces me, I need to be forced. I'm just not so spontaneous. It forces me to delve into these topics in a way that you don't tend to do when you're just a passive listener. So I'm very grateful to him, because this has been a profound blessing for me. Because through such study, I have, gradually come to realize that it is only through the mercy of these devotees that we will make progress, and that we will get entrance even to the spiritual realm. And, just the more I'm immersed in this, the more I started noticing that this is the theme of so many stories, the power of association with great souls. So, endeavoring to learn about them and understand them and make a connection with them, it's turned into much more than just a fun hobby. But actually, it is a most essential part of our spiritual lives. And Srila Prabhupada said that connection with the parampara is like electricity coming down and going up. It's a circuit of bhakti electricity. And you see so much, especially in Chaitanya Bhagavat, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I don't know the verse, but it says that association with advanced devotees is the root cause of devotional service. The root cause of devotional service. And it is practically the theme of Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya explains at one point in Chaitanya Bhagavat that the power of simply saying the names of his associates, just saying their names, is so purifying. Because these are our spiritual ancestors, And even mundane people, they like to know their ancestry, and they take some pride in that identification. So what to speak of us, when we realize, when we really get it, that we are related to the greatest people who have ever walked the face of the earth. That is powerful. Then we see ourselves as part of something much bigger, much greater, not just our little ISKCON society, but part of a most important historical event, a divine prophecy, which has been gradually unfolding for hundreds of years, and we're right in the midst of it, opening the treasure house of transcendental wisdom to the whole world. It's really the best thing that's happening on the Earth planet. We are blessed, despite whatever difficulties and whatever. So cultivating this awareness, it tends to propel us forward. It's like when sometimes you see how somebody's riding a bike and then a car or truck goes by and they just grab onto the side and then the bike goes really fast. Zoom. And so, we also can try to grab onto the association and the feet of our acharyas and get quickly carried in their current, because they want to carry us. They want to help us, and really our movement is built on this principle. We know the early days, we didn't know much but affection for Srila Prabhupada. We really, really did grab on to Srila Prabhupada, and that attachment, it carried us. It carried us very, very quickly. Normally the strong current of the material energy is pulling us, pulling us along. But if we hang on to a strong swimmer, we can get pulled in the right direction and swim against the mundane current. And Prabhupada showed us that, So it is very powerful to be conscious of the presence of our acharyas. It gives one strength. And of course, they are present. They're not dead and gone. There were so many instances when Srila Prabhupada was present, when he would say, "Did you see? Narada was here. Lord Shiva was here. Lord Brahma was here." Many times. Even in London, he said, "Make a seat for them for when they come." Didn't you see? No, we didn't see. But this is real, that there is so much that is beyond our sight and our realization, but it is real, we're like, I speak when I say we, I'm talking about myself primarily, like babies in a crib. All is what you see in your little crib. But as we grow, we start to see there's a world beyond the crib. There's so much out there. The whole spiritual realm is out there, so as we grow, we see more and more the bigger picture, the bigger world, the bigger reality. And, becoming awake to this presence of our acharyas is, a natural process of advancement, because we naturally start to feel grateful, feel appreciation, and some affection begins to grow, and that's how it starts. We want to wind it at prema, but you don't usually wind up there in one great big leap. So it's so helpful. Also because then there is no need to ever feel alone. We are sheltered and we have protection. Just a question if we're conscious and take it. That's up to us. Because Krishna himself, he says, the sadhu is in my heart. Sadhavo hridayam mayam, that famous verse, that we only get to Krishna through the devotees. Through Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we are connected to all these great souls. So this gives much hope that Krishna consciousness is achievable by the mercy of the acharyas. And, Prabhupada used to say that our neck beads, our Tulsi beads, it's our dog collar, that, we can just try to be the dog of the acharyas, be the dog of the acharyas. To hang on to the mercy, it's our saving grace. That's one thing that we can count on. The only thing really that will endure. So this is something I'm sharing. I'm talking a long time about this because this is something I've, really feel something about, I've experienced through, being immersed in this by giving classes and things and studying and looking, reading about. And it just, to me, is a very practical, very doable. There's so many very high philosophical topics that just seem just so beyond, my reach. But this seems something possible to aspire to make this connection with our acharyas, through, speaking about and hearing about, reading about, praying to. It's practical and it's powerful. So, I went off a bit on a tangent here, but I feel strongly about it, so I wanted to talk about it. So, doing these things on Indradyumna Maharaj's Parikrama and other things going on during these 5 years that I'm supposed to be talking about. I continue also to go to Poland for the festivals, Indradyumna Maharaj's summer festival tours, along with my daughter. And, that's austere, but it's very rewarding. And also I find it's very beneficial to go out of the Dham for some time, regularly, to do something, well, first of all, just indirect in the service of Mahaprabhu's mission. And it also, just reminds us of the suffering condition of material life, and really helps one to appreciate more, living in the Dham and living amongst devotees, and, to not take these things for granted, So sometimes it's very good. I saw it as a powerful effect. And my husband, Harisari Prabhu, well, by this time he has finished, he's finished 5 volumes of his Transcendental Diary. So each one of those was kind of like birthing a baby, took a long time and was a lot of work, and but wonderful that actually he finished this quite a long time ago, probably around 2005 or 6. And he actually has 2 more volumes to complete, but with his health issues getting worse, he just hasn't been able to make any progress, But he does continue to develop the BRC, the Bhaktivedanta Research Center in Calcutta, which I spoke about in an earlier talk, and that he goes back and forth from Mayapur, and also travels to many places to preach about the BRC and for book sales, and to collect for all these activities going on at the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. By now, they have become immersed in developing the manuscript mission, which is a primary objective of the BRC. So their representatives, they're going all over the place, traveling to various libraries all over and other temples, everywhere, to find and to collect and to digitize and preserve these rare manuscripts. There's just hundreds, probably, well, so far they have hundreds of manuscripts which have been digitized. But this is not at all an easy task. It's not easy to find the manuscripts or to get permission to, either take them and preserve them or to copy them. It's a whole and then once you have them, then that is a whole process that has to be learned for preserving these old materials, fumigating, cleaning by, different sophisticated processes. And, each one has to be wrapped in cardboard, and they use this acid-free paper and cover in red cloth because supposedly that keeps worms away. And that's how everybody in India uses this red cloth. And, preservation chemicals, and, it's serious work. And it is so important because there are just thousands of manuscripts just rotting in almirahs, and so time is of the essence. So this is a very important project, and I'm happy that, Harisori is still able to, push things forward with this at this time. But life is becoming much more difficult for him as his Parkinson's progresses. So during these years, these are ordinary stories I'm telling. It's nothing unique about, me or my husband's, what we're doing. Every devotee is doing different services, but it's just to show, what devotees go through, the kind of challenges, and, what happens throughout life, in the practical execution and efforts towards trying to become devotees. But anyway, during these years, we did a lot of research of trying to figure out, some alternative treatments for Harisori to slow the progress. There's no cure for Parkinson's so far. And, we got a lot of help from very kind devotees who helped to pay so that he could travel. He went to a clinic in the United States to try the cannabis oil treatment at a very highly developed place. And of course, my daughter Rasarani has just been absolutely a huge help, traveling with him and assisting in every way to make all these things happen. And he did get some help, but it wasn't major. And he has done many other things over these years, been to Ayurvedic clinics and homeopathic and physiotherapy and you name it. We've tried it, over the years. And some things have been a little helpful, but nothing major, And eventually he has gone on to, I don't remember. Ooh, there's a big storm happening. Oh my, I wonder about everything that's wet outside. It's too late, I can't get it. Oh dear, the laundry. Anyway, finally he went on to the allopathic medicine. We had been putting it off because it also has very bad side effects, but it has been very helpful. And for myself, it's also been a bit of a downward spiral, after menopause. And I'm just trying to manage with, by the mercy of my very expert yoga teacher, Krota Shamini, my god sister, given me a really good practice of Iyengar yoga, which has really helped, but it requires dedication and daily practice, and I'm not so good, but I try, Anyway, I bring all of this up just to show, we're entering a new stage of life, old age. Many changes, many new and different challenges. And it is clear that austerity and tolerance are on the cards for the rest of our lives. And as far as, I'm just explaining my family situation. My daughter, of course, by this time she's finished, got her high school diploma and doesn't want to do anything further, not interested in any particular career. She still lives at home and is a huge help to us. And she goes on tour with Endre du Mirage that can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months of the year, because apart from the Polish festival, there are also smaller festivals that, you know, there's festivals in the United States, in Brazil, in Australia, in India. So she's been going on all these tours, which is a great experience. I'm happy that she's had that opportunity. And she has a real attachment for doing Navadvip Parikrama every year, which she's done since she was a baby, and also attends the Kartik Parikrama. So, you know, these are things that keep her busy. And she has an attachment to Mayapur, very strong attachment. So, you know, if she's happy as a mother, I'm happy, you know. So that's our family situation. And as far as life in Mayapur, as I explained in the last talks, I spent some years being quite involved with the MCS, Mayapur Community Sevaks. It's a community, a team trying to help community, and then also taking part with the Vision team. And I don't really remember the years all these different teams have kind of merged in, but at some point I was invited to participate in a newly formed master plan team. So not that this team would be the ones to create the actual plan. It was not a permanent team, but put together. I mean, we're not qualified for that, but as I mentioned previously about the team, when the location of the TOVP was changed, it became the main focus of development. So, but we were aware that the overall city plan needed to be revived and reviewed and developed. And so thus this interim master plan team was formed. Hare Krishna. We got cut off for some time. There was a huge storm going on here, and the electricity went out, and the thunder was so loud, so we just blacked out for a while. So I hope I can get back into this and keep going to finish. So I was talking about how we'd formed this interim master plan team, and the idea is that we would get a sense of what was needed and then to find the best professional team who could design the actual plan. So this is an effort that went on for quite a while. I don't remember how long, but it was quite eye-opening just to see how much was needed to be done and just how little attention or funds was actually going in this direction. But eventually we did identify 2 possible professional teams. One was from Pondicherry, Oroville. The other was in Calcutta, a kind of forward-thinking term. Yeah, and we started to feel we're on the verge of, moving forward. And, but again, this project, believe it or not, it had no funding. And so this would have to be figured out. And again, we are just a group of local devotees trying to do what we can. And so we reported to the GBCOM. I'm pretty sure they were formed by that time. There's been so many different managerial groups, it's hard to keep up. But the GBCOM means the GBC committee that's been formed made up of the local managers and GBC men that would be involved in overseeing what's going on, because Mayapur is an international project. And so it's meant to, the GBC is meant to keep their eyes on what's going on. And so in the next meeting, we brought forward these two teams as the possible ways to move forward to get their permission. And there wasn't an immediate decision, but apparently we found out later that after this presentation, one of the GBCOM members made a suggestion that rather than hire either of these firms that we had recommended, that he actually had a disciple who was very experienced at master planning, and he could do this work as a service for free. Of course, free always sounds good, so it was just decided on the spot, without consultation with our team, and this would be the new direction. And we would engage this devotee who nobody really knew, who had not spent time in Mayapur, to just take charge of this most gigantic, important work. So when this information trickled down to our team, I don't think we were officially informed. Well, we were surprised and a little disturbed, but we could only hope against hope that this would indeed be the right person for the task. I mean, the main thing is to get the job done, regardless who does it. So when this devotee arrived after some time, we had an initial meeting. Maybe we had 2 or 3, I don't know. I'm not sure how everyone felt, but for sure a few of us were very highly skeptical that this was going to work out. This devotee made it clear that he preferred to work on his own and in his own way, so we more or less retired and hoped for the best. And so, moving on, I want to talk about devastating experience in 2011, and that is the departure of our beloved God sister, Yamuna Devi. Of course, she's a legend, and most everyone knows about her, so I won't try to glorify her here, as I couldn't adequately do it, but fortunately her best friend, Dina Tarane, has written 3 marvelous books about her, and I highly recommend that everyone read them. They are really beautiful books, very informative. And I had not spent a lot of time with Yamuna, but I felt very close to her. We had some brief encounters over the years, but we really clicked when we did the women's presentation to the GBC in 2000. And so we kept in regular touch from that time. And I really treasured that connection. It was deep. And I just have to mention, what a very special and extraordinary devotee she was. Some of those early devotees, later devotees also, really stood out from the moment they joined as clearly highly advanced devotees. They just immediately got it and were a source of inspiration for so many. I believe some devotees were just specifically sent to assist Srila Prabhupada in bringing Mahaprabhu's miraculous mission to the world. And Srila Prabhupada did mention something to this effect. And Yamuna was certainly one of them. She always seemed more mature than everybody else. I felt like a child in her presence. And there are so many things that could be said about her, but some qualities that really struck me the most about her was her warmth and depth and authenticity. She was just incredibly personal. Wasn't an impersonal bone in her body. She really cared about people and showed what sadhu sangha is meant to be. And she just liked to get to the heart of things. One time she just arrived in Vrindavan, And I saw her for the first time across the temple room. And she rushed over to me and embraced me with so much warmth and emotion, even tearfully, that it was almost astonishing to me to experience her genuine affection. And not that that was unique to me in any way. There are many who had this same experience with her, that she made you feel special and loved and encouraged in a very natural way. And she was just such an example of an ideal devotee and an ideal disciple, how to perfectly serve the spiritual master with just so much focus and dedication. Someone that you would you aspire to become like, I loved her and trusted her. And we shared a lot of deep discussions. And in her later years, she felt, this mission. She felt very strong desire to help the younger generations of devotees, to especially give them an opportunity to experience the gift of bhakti in the way that she had experienced it with Srila Prabhupada, so purely and so full of joy and wonder. And because she feared that, some of our own spiritual lacking institutionally and personally might make the younger generation apathetic towards the process, and thus be unable to cultivate, the very urgent need to really advance in Krishna consciousness. So she began to have retreats with mostly young devotees at their amazing home in Sharanagati in remote Canada. Other places also she did in Mayapur once. And she liked to keep things small and personal so that she could really go deep with everyone. And it wasn't complicated what she did. It wasn't focused on herself. She wanted everyone to participate. And she had this round robin way of singing where everyone takes a turn, you just go around, because she really wanted everyone's involvement. She just, basically she just did kirtan with them and focused on going through the songs of the Vaishnavacharyas, especially Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And, they all just talked about the meanings. And in this way, she gently encouraged very focused and prayerful and attentive chanting, with the idea of leaving your ego at the door. And with the intention to explore going ever deeper into potent kirtan. So in her non-flashy, kind of quiet way, she made a huge impact on many young devotees. Old devotees also, but specifically. But just by singing with them and paying attention to them, noticing their potential, just being real, being genuine, and sharing her own genuine deep love for kirtan and Prabhupada and the process, because she was very much into quality rather than quantity, and very much into substance over form. And, around this time, sometime before she left, I was feeling a bit challenged in my life, things that were going on, and I started to make a list of things I wanted to talk to her about. And this list, it just kept growing, and then at some point I thought, well, what the heck? Why don't I just go to Florida and spend time with her? And so I started looking online for cheap air ticket, and while I was doing this, my husband came into my room and quietly put his phone in front of my face so I could see a message that he had just received. And that message was, Yamuna Devi has just departed this world. What a shocking disappointment. So there are times in your life when you really realize the value of association, just how important, just how essential, how life-giving is the association of advanced devotees. And this was one of those times. It was a great loss. But in the days before she passed, we shared a number of emails, and one of her last comments to me, I have noted down here. It was the last comment to me. If we don't plug into the process, the current cannot flow through the wires. And this is a place for suffering. Every moment we suffer from the body and mind. We don't like it, but it comes. There is a constant struggle for existence, but fortunately, nourishment is available when we turn to it. So let us pray for the mercy of the Lord, as well as the strength to take it when it comes. Hari Hari Bifale. Those were her final wise words to me. So back to Mayapur, now 2012, moving forward in time. This was the first big Kirtan Mela in Mayapur, pretty sure it was that year. And it was a wonderful thing that has become a tradition. And we wondered why we were not always doing this. This very positive focus on increasing kirtan. This is a wonderful thing that was sweeping the movement now, more and more kirtan, back to the basics. And what was most enlivening about it was that so many younger people, younger devotees, taking this up in such an expert way, such a beautiful way. And it's glorious. I mean, it continues on and on and on. This started around this time. And also they had, I think that year was the first ILS, which is International Leadership Sangha. And that was very successful also. The idea, our movement is so big now, and the idea was to bring together people who are leading all kinds of things, different projects, and come together and share what they're doing. And this also, it was very successful. So this has become a regular, I think every other year they're doing it now. So then getting back to the master plan, so what transpired after, probably we're going into 2013 or so, what transpired with this new person who had been brought in, who hadn't any prior experience in Mayapur. As I said, he came in and he just began to run with the ball, and we had met with him. So time passed, and to make a very long story short, at least a couple of years, it could have even been 3 years. And by that time it became very clear to everyone that the plan he was unfolding was not acceptable. And surprise, surprise, it also cost a lot of money during those years. It was supposed to be free, but he did it as a seva, but he had to employ so many. And so, very unfortunately, a lot of time and a lot of money was really wasted And I don't want to lament about it. What's done is done. You know, we try to see Krishna in everything that happens, but I do want to highlight that this is another instance of a kind of management style, or just the way we often do things in ISKCON, that's not very productive and sometimes damaging and wasteful and sometimes discouraging. Because it does seem a rather common practice that a few highly placed devotees make important decisions which will have an impact on local devotees, communities, projects, without communicating with or consulting with the people or the community on the ground. And I don't think it's necessarily always consciously done. It may be incompetence, who knows, but it happens. And I don't bring this up to be political or to criticize or even to question the motivations behind it, but just in hopes of there being more awareness for future generations, that they will learn to do things better, that we might evolve into dealing with each other in a much more personal way. And because I've seen many times, I've seen the ill effects of, bureaucratic or impersonal kind of dealings when devotees feel undervalued or powerless or not included or not informed about what's going on. And, they tend to lose enthusiasm and trust. It pushes them away. Everybody, whether big or small, needs validation and appreciation. And Srila Prabhupada was so consistent with that. And, I just pray that we get better at this over time. Or we may be in danger of losing more and more devotees. Because devotees, they don't often go away because of philosophical issues. Mostly they go away because of personal dealings, relationships. So it's so important that we become more conscientious about this. And I'm not pointing fingers exclusively at managers. It is not at all an easy task to manage anything in Kali Yuga. And anyone who's even trying to take up that austerity is due some degree of respect. But we all need to be aware that having power over others in any way is always risky business. It's just so easy to embrace the fallacy that position automatically endows one with the ability to make decisions about anything and everything, or that one's position automatically sets one above and apart from others. And, we've seen it. It causes havoc in one's spiritual life. So, whatever service we do, we need to hang on very tightly to the most essential truth. The bottom line in Krishna consciousness is that I am simply a servant of the servant of the servant, many times removed. And that's certainly not easy, especially when you have power or prestige or but it's essential. So getting back anyway to the master plan, eventually our team, our small team, was reassembled, pick up the pieces from where we left off, and we did employ the Calcutta team who we had previously put forward. And our job now was mainly to provide this team with the information they needed to do their work. And that was so much easier said than done, because they had so many questions that we had no answers for. For example, Oh, so you want a you're going to have a university here. So how big is that university? How many students? How many classrooms? You get the idea? So many questions, you know. Well, how many people do you expect to receive on a daily basis, and how many hotels will you need? How big of an auditorium? How many? What do you require? What kind of activities will be provided for your visitors? What kind of transport? Endless questions that we would just totally estimate. Anyway, it was difficult to answer because no one really has that kind of comprehensive information about the entire project. What many people don't realize is that Mayapur is like 100 little small temples, all working independently, you know, and each part does their part. And in many instances, many departments, they do it really, really well. For example, the prasadam distribution. Imagine in Mayapur, I mean, there's 20 to 30,000 plates of prasadam cooked and served daily in many venues. That is a lot every day, all year long. And book distribution, thousands of books are distributed daily. And the deity worship, of course, is just amazing. I think I heard that they make like 300 garlands daily. So, you know, there's a lot of people hard at work doing all these things. However, you know, one part doesn't know what the other part is doing. The arm doesn't know what the leg is doing. And again, it gets back to that overall vision not being taught and incorporated in all the parts. So we saw that, and we're working on it, but very slow going. But anyway, this team, their name Salient, I think, Salient, were very good, and you know, hopefully the desire of the idea for this plan was to make sure that we could protect the 350 or so acres that were left, to protect them from overdevelopment and the mess that has accrued outside. We've seen, you know, around. So Salient would be able to influence the GBCOM in ways that we could not, to make sure that there would be sufficient percentage of parks and gardens in the plan, and put limits on the height of buildings and suggest ways to protect the environment. So to some extent that rough plan was done and accepted, so that was a good thing. And of course, that is just the beginning. You know, to have a basic plan, then the plan is supposed to be unpacked and thoroughly designed and executed. And Salient was eager to be involved in that, but, you know, to continue with this work would cost a lot of money that we did not have yet. You know, as you see, so much focus is on the TOVP. So our team at some point, you know, had no further involvement. Again, I believe we were disbanded without being told personally. Somebody I saw in the park just said, who had just come from a meeting, said, "Oh, did you hear that your team was no longer needed?" You know, so there we have it again, that outdated and ineffective and kind of discouraging method of impersonal management. Impersonal, or else just incompetent, I don't know. But the next concern would be whether they would actually stick with this plan or not. You imagine the pressure. Everybody wants to develop something, and to keep the plan, you know, keep keep it as it's supposed to go is not going to be easy, you know. And whether really the funds could be raised, or whether there was enough interest even to raise these funds to move forward with the plan outside of the TOVP. You know. So also during this time, as I said, it's all kind of emerged to me that I was involved in a strategic planning group. And initially, this strategic planning began as an offshoot of the MCS, you know, the Mayapur Community Sevaks. So this was more about the plan for the people, the community. So we were trying to gather information to show more what was needed for the community, socially, economically, spiritually. And our findings and thoughts were regularly shared at the GBCOM meetings, which were not very frequent, so again, very slow progress. And we were particularly interested to explore how to develop an internal economy, as Srila Prabhupada clearly desired this. And so we did some rough studies of what was going on at present. For example, how much is spent on food throughout the year? Where do we purchase it from? You know, we spend millions on food. Imagine we're feeding 20, 30,000. What to speak of, that's not counting all the devotees, the thousands of devotees that live here that are also feeding their families. So just imagine the money being spent. So how could this money be kept within rather than paid out, you know? How could we begin to supply what is needed from inside rather than purchase from outside? You know, for example, just, you know, ways we were thinking. Just imagine how many, and we did make some calculation, I don't remember, how many cold drinks are sold in a year here. Just imagine, just thousands and thousands. How many bags of crisps, you know, potato chips are sold, you know, huge quantities. Why not have grihastas? Prabhupada had these ideas. Why not have grihastas make these things as small-scale businesses, have our own brand? We did make a brand. It was called Mayapur. That was Gauranga Singha made a really nice Mayapur logo in hopes of moving forward in this direction. And there were just baby steps to try to introduce this concept. But it was very difficult. It's like swimming upstream, you know. And, you know, or how could we grow our own organic produce? This would be a huge farming endeavor. But even just to figure out what was presently being grown on the property was puzzling. No one really knew. And there's many different plots just growing various things. And there wasn't any comprehensive awareness of who's doing what. But we did come to see that there are cash crops being grown, which we know Prabhupada didn't want. And there are pesticides being used in some places, which of course we know is not good. But anyway, trying to move in this direction was difficult. And why? Well, many reasons, just not so much interest, you know, no funds, no real desire to change or work together or get a bigger vision. You know, people are used to just doing their thing, doing their own thing. Or people are just too busy. They're already, you know, over-engaged. Or some people are just really content with the way things are done. And they don't want to change. And they just don't understand the concept or even believe that it could or should be done. But anyway, eventually the GBCOM did see the need to put more energy into strategic planning and to get a better idea of what needs to be done to unfold Mayapur. And so they requested Kadamba Kanana Maharaj to head up the strategic planning team and to come up with a report that would give them some direction. So he was a perfect person to do this. Just right, because he had a lot of experience in India with building, with managing, with even the languages. He speaks Hindi and Bengali, and he's just inspired and informed, and he loves Mayapur. And just a wonderfully knowledgeable, talented, sincere devotee that's very materially capable. And, he admitted that, he would much rather be leading kirtan or traveling and preaching. But he really understood the importance of developing Mayapur nicely. He really cared. So he made the time. And he made quite good headway. And it was a pleasure to work with him. And finally he came out with a report, I don't know, like maybe 50 pages, report submitted to the GBCOM to identify a way forward in many areas, particularly to identify adequate managerial structure to provide for a worldwide audience and a local community, and to, he also reviewed, relevant aspects of the master plan, and he covered a lot. And his report was received favorably. But again, this was just, this is just a first step in moving in a positive direction. Maharaj's intention was to spend some time regularly in Mayapur to follow through on incorporating the plan. And so it looked like things would begin to move forward in a positive way. And also, around the same time, the vision document was also being completed and was accepted by the GBCOM. And again, this was also just a first step. And there would have to be a plan how to incorporate that vision into everything, to every corner of the project, to all devotees should know, should understand, be aware. So there were ideas of how they would, there could be many classes with different departments and with community members in hopes that the vision would begin to be understood and guide all of our endeavors. So at this stage, we were hopeful. And I think I will end there on that note, on that hopeful note. Hare Krishna.